Good morning guys and welcome back to the channel. Now if you've been considering a new family car and fancy the idea of an EV but you've got your doubts so don't want to go the full electric vehicle route, then a PHEV very well may be a good choice for you. And this is the Seat Leon eHybrid FR. This combines the best of both worlds really, combining electric motors and petrol all into one package. Now what we're going to do in the video, we're going to discuss the car, the styling, technology and take it out on the road for a test drive and hopefully try and answer the questions that could a PHEV very well be your next car. But before we get going, I want to say a big thank you to Seat Hendy in Brighton who have lent me the car. They might not be open physically, but they are available for click and collect services, telephone calls. So give the guys there a ring if you're interested in a new Leon, or in fact, any new Seat. Let's get going. Let's look around the brand new Seat Leon eHybrid FR. The original Seat Leon came out back in 1998. 4 generations on, we have this, the brand new Seat Leon. Being part of the VW group means it's got the same underpinnings as found in the Golf Mark 8, the Audi A3 and the Skoda Octavia. But added to that, we have some Spanish design flair. We've got some sharp angles followed with some creases as well to make what I think is a smart looking package. This being the FR model, it is the slightly more sporty version in the lineup. So we have a completely unique front grille here. This model has LED headlights, LED fog lights, parking sensors across the front. If you went for like the Sport or above, you can get parking cameras. But I really like the look of it. This is it's quite a classy but quite a smart looking vehicle. The side profile really does show off the creases and curves we've been talking about. A swage line starts in the front headlight, runs all the way down the side of the car and wraps itself into the rear tail light. Lower down there's other creases and curves, makes the side profile look really nice. We've got grey mirror caps on here and that colour matches the grille at the front. The roof as well dips back slightly, not quite as aggressive as a coupe, but makes it look a bit different. And I'm hoping that doesn't affect the rear headroom for the passengers, but we'll find out a bit later on. Privacy glass, 17-inch wheels, they're 225/45. Possibly could do with being a bit bigger, but I'd be very happy with those anyway. And the major difference on the side over the standard petrol version is this little cap here that opens up and reveals the charging port. The most distinctive thing about the rear of the car has to be the fact the rear tail light is the complete width of the boot. It looks really nice when it's on. I'll overlay some footage of that being on. Up here we've got a spoiler. The rear window does seem to be a little small. I think that's due to the styling. It sort of squishes everything up. It looks good, but hopefully it won't affect rear visibility. Although saying that, we have got rear parking sensors and higher models can come with a parking camera. Lower down we've got the Seat badge and that actually acts as the handle to open the boot. And under there we've got the Leon badge in some funky text. Going down even further, we've got the 2 rear exhausts. Well, they're not actually exhausts, they're just covers to look like exhaust. The exhaust itself is actually further underneath. I know certain people, they've got a real gripe against having fake exhausts or fake vents, but it looks pretty smart. I don't know if you're that bothered by that sort of styling. And finally the FR eHybrid badge. So let's have a look in the boot. There's something in here I need to talk to you about, which possibly might cause a problem. So here we go, the back of the Leon, and the problem potentially is this is 110 litres smaller than the petrol counterpart. The reason for that is because it is a hybrid, it needs batteries and the batteries have to go somewhere and they are under the floor. So you will lose a bit of storage. I have done a full shop yesterday, so I'll put that footage in really quickly and you can have a look at that because the boot is still very usable. We've got a number of hooks and tethering points in the rear here. 60-40 split, and you have got a ski hatch that you can fold down. So if you have got longer items, you can just slide them in there. There is quite a large lip as well, so if you have got something you want to hump up and pull out, it may clip on the side here, but it's not a massive deal. It's really difficult to find things wrong with this car, so we need to be a bit picky and make sure you guys make the right choice. So let's hop in the back and we'll see what the rear passengers have in store for them. So what's it like in the back of this Leon? Well, it's a lot warmer than it is out there, which is a great thing. So in terms of legroom, I've left my driver's seat in the position I would normally be driving in, so I'm 6 foot for a bit of context, and I've got probably an inch of room between my knees and the back of the seat. My feet fit underneath the seat, so that's even better. One thing I was concerned about was the amount of headroom I'd have. I could see the outside of the car, the roof line looked like it was dropping down. I thought I was going to be hitting my head, but it's fine. Look at this. I've got 2 or 3 inches of room above me, so that's fantastic. So without looking around the rest of it, I'd be very happy as a passenger. But we've also got a central armrest, a couple of cup holders. Now, the fact I take my granddaughter out quite a bit and I have to get her car seat in, I don't have Isofix, which this car does. Now, any of you that are parents can probably relate to that. Getting a seatbelt to wrap around a car seat is an absolute nightmare. So that is a massive plus for me, the fact those Isofix are here. The back of each seat, we've got pockets. Again, any parent hopefully can relate to that. Put in the comment if this is true. Kids love putting chocolate, crisps, sweets, toys in the back of these things. They're all very useful, but a bit of a pain for that. Door bins as well, and controls for the electric windows. Got a couple of lights just up here as well. Now, this being the FR, we've got 3-zone climate control, and to control the temperature you've got in this central piece here. Got the controls, and just under there we've got USB Type-C. That's great if you haven't got an iPhone like I have, so you will have to get an adapter to plug your phone in. But overall, it's very nice in the back here. But I don't want to be in the back of the car, I want to be in the front. So I'm going to hop out, get in the front, and we'll take it out the road. We'll talk about the tech and the driving experience. Right, this is where I wanted to be, in the front. Coat and hat has come off. It's nice and warm in here now. So let's get going then. Let's experience this car. Now, to start off with, we have foot on the brake, and you press this red flashing start button, and the car, say, fires into life. It doesn't really fire into life. It comes on completely silently. Normally it will start off in electric mode, so we'll be nice and quiet. In order to get going, we've got this gear nubule thing down here. A bit unusual, I've not seen many like this. So we'll just pull backwards, and we're going to D, and that's it. So foot down, we'll turn the air conditioning down ever so slightly. We'll go through this a bit later, how you use this touch screen, because there's a lot to it, and we'll get going. So that's it, we're on silent power only at the moment. Now we're underway, we can talk about what is a PHEV. Simply put, we have a petrol engine and an electric motor, which can either run in just electric mode by manually selecting it over on the infotainment system, or in hybrid mode, which will either run in electric or petrol, but the car will choose what the best mode for you to be in. You don't have to do anything whatsoever. The electric mode is great if you're doing urban driving, or maybe a short commute to work of around sort of 20 to 30 miles. It might mean you don't need to go to the petrol station at all. You would let it charge overnight, so you've got a full charge, drive to work, finish your day, drive back, plug it back in again, rinse and repeat. So no going to the petrol station. Something you need to remember if you own a PHEV Seat Leon is to remember to plug the thing in as often as possible. So when you're at home, leave your car plugged in. If you go to the supermarket and you see the charging stations, try and plug it in for half an hour or so. The benefit of having a PHEV comes when you can use the electric side of the car. That is when you'll get significantly better fuel consumption. The overall combined figure that is claimed is over 200 miles to the gallon. It's not quite as simple. Again, I've been averaging around 55. If you don't use the PHEV side of the car or the electric side, you're going to end up with worse fuel consumption than if you had have gone for a traditional petrol Seat. So you need to be mindful of that. If that fits into your lifestyle, fantastic. If it doesn't, or you've got nowhere to plug your car in overnight, maybe a different model is your better option. As standard, it comes with the connector to plug it into the car and also a normal 3-pin plug so you can plug it in at home. Very, very simple. You literally plug it in like you would do any other device. If you're charging at home, it takes between 8 to 10 hours for a full charge, which is fine. You can plug it in overnight, but if you've got a fast charger, you can bring that down to 3.5 hours. You can get those fitted at your house if you want to. I'm not sure there's a massive point if you've got a PHEV, because it doesn't exactly take a huge amount of time in your normal day. So it is possible to recharge these batteries when driving along. I'm not saying a very long extension cable out the window, but it uses something called regenerative braking. What that means is if you lift off the accelerator and you're coasting or you're braking, there is kinetic energy, and that wasted energy is put back into the electric motors and then charge the battery. That's very, very clever. It does give you a different feel to the driving experience, which I will try and explain now. So at the moment, I've got it in the highest regenerative setting. So I'm doing 29 miles an hour. If I lift off, the car is slowing down. This is in its most aggressive state, and I will eventually come to a halt. So I'm doing about 10 miles an hour now, but that has charged the batteries. So it is possible to change how aggressive the regenerative braking feels on the car. If you want to feel more like a traditional petrol engine and not have the regenerative braking slowing you down, you can change it over on the infotainment system. So if I press the icon of the car, it'll come up with the load more menus, and we press vehicle. On vehicle, you get a picture of the car, and you need to rotate it around until you see the front of the car. The menu now changes and you get something with electric drive. I can press that and I get a drop down with recuperation, and at the moment it's on high, so I'm going to press that and change it to low. You can also go to automatic. If I go to low, it will now mean that if I ease off the accelerator, it's not going to slow me down. So I'm doing 40 miles an hour now, lift off. I'm still doing 40 miles an hour, and a really clever thing, the rev counter now has gone down to 0 RPM. The valves on the petrol engine have actually closed, so I'm not using any petrol. I'm not charging the battery, but I'm not wasting any fuel. Very clever, but that feels more like your normal petrol car. I'm going to go back in and start charging my battery a bit more aggressively, so I'm going to put it back on high. Very clever if you do want to have, it's almost like 1 foot braking. It's not quite as aggressive as something, say, like a Tesla, where you ease off and it really feels like you're slamming on the brakes. But it's a nice thing to have, and you can get a bit more range out of your battery. This car has various different driving modes you can cycle through. So if we press the picture of the car in the bottom right, we then go over to driver profile. We've then got these options here, so we can be in eco, normal, sport or individual. So individual enables you to customize a few different things on the car. So we press configure and you can alter the steering, engine and the air conditioning. So let's go back as we're on some nice roads and we'll go into sport mode. This will firm things up on the steering, the throttle response will be better, and it will use the electric and petrol motor as much as it can to give you the maximum performance. This is actually the fastest non-Cupra Leon they do, 60 in 7.5 seconds. So it's a pretty peppy car, to be honest, and having the electric motor makes this thing feel even quicker. The pickup is brilliant. Normally with a normal petrol car, you'd put your foot down, it'd probably kick down a gear, but you'd have to wait for the turbo to spool up and then you'd really get going. But with this particular model, you don't have to wait for anything. It's fantastic in that way. As soon as you put your foot down, the electric motor kicks in, torques fill, then the turbo comes in and you've got the maximum amount of grunt possible. And it's a really pleasant experience. What you could also do, this has got a 6-speed DSG box and it's in automatic, but we can change that over to being sport and use the paddles. So if I pull back on the little gear nubule, whatever the term is, I think it's nubule, not nobule. Pull that back, we go over to sport, and now I can use the paddles, change it over to M, and I can put my foot down and then use the paddles. It's got a nice turn of speed, this. It's a very peppy car. Feels a lot quicker than it actually is. And that's the torque. 350 newton meters is a very good amount for a car to have. It is heavy, yes, but that extra oomph really does help out. And in terms of handling, these are quite tight and twisty roads, and we'll see how we get on. In terms of ride, the FR has got a slightly firmer setup than the normal car, but it's not overly firm. I mean, I prefer having a slightly firmer ride because it does give you better handling. You know, you come into a bend like this, and I'm hoping it sticks really well. There was no body roll there at all. I felt very, very comfortable. It feels very composed on the road. And it's a very pleasant car to drive. You don't want to miss out on the next episode, so hit the subscribe button and notification bell, because in part 2 I will be talking about the technology, the digital cockpit, the interior, and my final thoughts on the brand new Seat Leon e-Hybrid.